All right, welcome back to Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. If you need a roof, make sure you call Ireland Contracting. They're the best in the business, 1-800-NEW-ROOF. They not only do roofs, they do gutters, they do siding. They do anything you need. Now is the time to call. That's why they are #1 in Pittsburgh, 1-800-NEW-ROOF. Give us a call right now on the Borders and Borders hotline, 412-575-2600. We're going to continue the Antonio Brown talk because I just find it so amusing and interesting right now. I think he's really alienating all Steelers fans and the most important people on the Steelers. Yeah, there might be some guys that like him. You know where he is in the corner of that locker room. He has some friends on the team. It's not like everyone. I think some people are getting the wrong picture here. Not everyone hates the guy in that locker room. He has a lot of friends.
He does have friends in that locker room. There's no question about it. But there are some that are not amused by this anymore. It's clear. There's, you know.
I wouldn't be, would you, if you were his teammate?
Here's the thing. I wouldn't care about some of this stuff, but you got to show up.
Yeah.
It's a game for our playoff lives against the Bengals, and you don't show up for practice, and then you do what you do, and then you have your coach. I mean, you have your agent call the coach. What is that?
So we know it's an ego thing. Does he want to be? He doesn't want to play second fiddle to Ben. Is that, you think, his biggest issue right now? What, if you could get inside his head, what is his biggest issue?
I think it is. I think his issue is he doesn't like not being the center of attention, I guess. I think the whole thing is he viewed the Juju Smith-Schuster winning the MVP as like a slight at him. I do. And I think
but that says a lot about what they vote on, the players are voting.
Here's the thing I say, okay? The fact that the quarterback, and now him, didn't win the MVP in a vote of the other guys in that locker room tells you everything you need to know about those two guys and how their teammates really feel about them.
Yeah, I thought of that too. I mean, Ben has only won once, right?
In 2009, and they didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, so this is the year you would have thought that he would have won. He had his best year, but it was a team that didn't make the postseason, so something is wrong here.
My point is, if you're the quarterback, if you're the Patriots, which they don't think they do at MVP, if you're the Patriots, how many times do you think Brady would not be voted by his teammates the MVP of that team? You know what I'm saying? 15, 16 years now, he'd probably have 12 MVPs.
At least.
You know what I'm saying? So
he might have all 15. Troy Brown maybe the one year would have won it. I mean, I can't think of too many other guys. Yeah, I know.
You know, I don't know that Ben is the most popular guy in that locker room either. I know we're not supposed to say that in this town, you know, because it's like it's Ben, but it's true.
So if you're going to look around the league, I mean, realistically, you know, they're not going to trade him to any guy, any team in the division. So what teams would fit? Like what team, or maybe Seattle, what team is one or two players away? Indianapolis, that this guy could really go there and make an impact for a couple years.
How about that?
And they got the room, too.
How about they trade for him and then sign Le'Veon Bell?
It's possible. I mean, they could do that. You know, and this is a good team.
All of a sudden, with Andrew Luck, I like that team better than the Steelers. I don't even need to know who is on their defense. I mean, seriously.
Mike Mitchell's on their defense.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Isn't he hurt this weekend?
I don't even know.
So, I mean, how about Kansas City?
They could use a receiver.
You know?
I mean, if you're the Steelers now, do you avoid trading him to an AFC team?
No, I mean, you can't cut your market in half.
I think
you've got to go with the best deal you can get.
All right, let's go out to Bob out in Beachview. What's up, Bob?
Hi. You two guys are so commonsensical. When Paul's on, I try to call. You ought to take that little clip that he just said about putting double coverage on him, and they'd shut him down on any other team, and the other wide receivers would be looking good. I mean, he's just got to get some reality into him. But I wonder, when he was driving down McKnight Road at 100 miles an hour and throwing furniture off a 13-story building, it just makes me wonder his touch with reality. I just wanted to make that comment. I enjoy your comments.
Hey, I appreciate your call, Bob. I mean, maybe at some point, does he need help? Like, is he bipolar? I mean, are these things that come in? I mean, are these things? I'm being serious. Are these things that come into play here? Does he? Maybe he should see someone, or like.
I mean, again, people are speculating about CTE. They're speculating about this. Everything we've known about this guy is he's been a narcissistic, selfish guy self-centered guy his entire career. Even going back to Central Michigan, there were some people that wrote a couple weeks ago or a month ago, hey, this is why he dropped to the 6th round despite his talent, because of things like this. So, and again, there's lots of reasons why people become that way, but I don't know that. I don't know that in many ways, it has to be quite as dramatic as he's got mental health issues. I think he's just a real egotistical guy, and he's a narcissistic guy who we're all in his world.
Yeah, and you could see that from those Instagram videos today, smoking a cigar and just sitting there talking about Chad Ochocinco as his mentor,
which scary,
is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And he's going to come out with a video at some point and explaining everything. And I do find it entertaining, and I understand this is an entertainment business. I try to understand that, but now, what he's doing to the Steelers and the owners and the coaches, that's just not right. But it just goes to show me he doesn't care about anyone else but himself.
At the end of the day, it's a business.
I get that, but you're not going to knock your employer or I don't know. I don't know what's going through his mind.
I understand
that's what's hard for me to grasp.
He wants to be moved.
Yeah, you can tell that's what he wants.
He's doing. He's doing his best to get moved.
Joe out in Uniontown. What's up, Joe?
Hey, Rick and Paul. How you doing, guys?
Thanks for calling.
I'll give you 3 questions, and I'm going to listen to your comment. Number 1, it's time for Brown to go. Last 2 seasons, he's been nothing but a destruction. And the problem is, it's not his ego. It's called juju. Second thing, do you think that the Pirates, which I feel was a great sign today with Corey Dickerson, was it a good move? Thank you, guys, and have a good evening.
First of all, I'll address the Corey Dickerson thing. I think it's a great move. That you have to have a guy that can play an outfield position right now. You're getting him at $8.5 million a year. He's going to be your guy in left field because you need a right fielder now too, because Gregory Polanco, at least for the first couple months, isn't going to be there. So you got to keep this guy around for another year, Paul. That was a no-brainer right there. And same with Kella.
Really
both
didn't
guys.
Have a choice,
yeah, you don't really have a choice because they didn't go out and get any free agent.
Well, what I mean is it was an arbitration thing.
Well, it was an arbitration. So
he was going to be with them, unless they could trade him. What makes it a good deal is that they were able to get a number that was, a little less
for them.
A little less than he wanted and a little more than they wanted to pay, so they avoided arbitration. It's good. It'll be interesting to see if, it depends on what happens before the trade deadline, but he's the kind of guy, since it is his final year of arbitration, at the trade deadline, if things aren't going so well or whatever, he could be the kind of guy they trade.
Do you think, going back to the Steelers in the first part of his question, do you think Antonio Brown will have somewhat of a choice of where he goes?
No.
So it's up to the Steelers. So the Steelers could really send him.
I shouldn't say that. His agent could actually get on the phone. The Steelers could say, hey, listen, if you can work out a deal that makes sense. So his agent could maybe get on the phone and call some general managers and say, hey, what would you be willing to give and this and that and everything. But at the end of the day, it's going to be the Steelers who decide where he goes.
Yeah, and I get that. But what if they send him to Buffalo? I mean, he's not going to put up close to the numbers.
I hope he's got gloves and a hat. I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah, and
you're going to be like your buddy Le'Veon Bell and sit out and miss $14 million?
Well, I don't think Brown is that kind of person. I don't think you're going to see him sit out at all.
No, that's what I mean.
He's
going to go where he's going to go where they trade him to.
Yeah, he needs the money. I mean, he's buying $100,000 chains. It seems like every day or something. So, all right, we're going to take a break. Back with more of your phone calls. Some of your tweets coming up next. Stay right there.